So here we are at the 2015 Yamaha YZ launch. Got Chris Urquhart from Moto Development. No doubt you've seen this guy in action or even been to one of his schools. Basically, Chris is going to be testing for us today and let you guys know what YZ suits what kind of rider. What do you reckon, mate? How cool is it that you can still buy a 252 stroke?
For me, this is real cool. I grew up, you know, racing two strokes and went through the 85s, 125s, and then 252 stroke ended up being my weapon of choice for a lot of years. It's really cool to be back on one of these and that you can go and grab one from your local dealer and straight out of the box they're a heap of fun.
You can, like, there's not a huge amount of development, but they were good 5 years ago. I think this isn't too far off the 2005 model when they came out alley frame. There's been some upgrades or whatever.
They haven't made a heap of massive changes to them, but little subtle changes every year.
With Moto Development schools, you see the full spectrum of riders too, right?
Yeah.
So, who would you say is the right rider for a YZ 252 stroke?
I guess it's hard to say a bike's perfect for you, but we do see the full spectrum at our schools, and you see the guys sometimes roll out. They've very little experience and they think they buy a 450 because they need the power, you know. But this, I think with the two-stroke, if they start off on a 125 and maybe step up to a 252 stroke, it's the perfect bike. It's very low maintenance compared to some. They can do a top end change themselves if they're a little bit mechanically minded.
That's exactly right. They want the performance of a high performance bike, but don't have the budget to be, you know, maintaining a highly strung four-stroke. These things put out a lot of power, more than the average rider can handle. That's a fact, right?
Exactly, and you know, I think for the guy that maybe rode back when he was a kid or whatever, and then, you know, he's gone away, had kids or whatever. I'm seeing a lot of those kind of guys coming out, getting a 252 stroke, and they're back in the game where they left off.
So the YZ 125, mate, what do you reckon?
The YZ 125 for a junior rider is a perfect bike, and they should almost be compulsory it teaches kids how to ride properly.
If you can ride a 125 hard, you can ride any motorcycle, basically.
You have to ride a 125 correctly. You have to use the clutch, you have to be in the right gear, you have to have throttle control, you have to pick good lines.
Speaking of the 125, hey guys, we've got Shane just crashing our party. You're way too big for this bike. No. Way too big. Because manufacturers have just phased a lot of them out, but Yamaha, we were just saying, it's part of their master plan to keep their customers from juniors into seniors, into trail riding, into adventure riding, by having that 125 there to keep them in, you know, the next step of their motorcycle journey, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, not mega overall updates, but they've put some effort in to try and sharpen the looks up a little bit and make the things look a bit nicer, and you know, that just there I think proves exactly what you just said, that they're definitely still interested in this market, and these things aren't going anywhere in the near future, I don't think.
YZ250F, mate, the 4-stroke game. What do you reckon?
Being with Yamaha for a long time, racing-wise and coaching, I went from the YZ125 to the 250F, and at the start they were a little bit raw around the edges, I guess. They were a great bike, but they over the years they improved them drastically. And
compared to what they are now, when they first kicked off, they had a bit of an agricultural element to them, didn't they?
They did. And I look back at old photos and some old video footage now and think, wow, it's come a long way. But the actual performance of that bike back then was amazing. But
against what else was available, it was the big hitter. It was the one, wasn't it?
It was the bike of its time. And like the new 250F now, it's a pretty amazing thing. I hadn't ridden one for about 3 years and jumped straight from a 450 onto the new 250F and thought, wow, how it's got power everywhere. It works really well. Geometry's great. It turns. It does everything right, and it's really quick.
It's a good bike to build someone's confidence on a motocross track, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. It's hard for the guys to get too out of control, but they can refine their skills and riding on it.
And they are capable in every way. Like suspension-wise, the chassis is more than enough to cope for the engine's output, isn't it?
It is. And you can ride one of those things straight out of the box, hard. And if you're racing up anywhere up to a national level, they're competitive out of the box.
They really are, aren't they?
Yeah.
So the big one, mate, the YZ450.
Yep.
Look, the 2014 YZ450, they were selling it as the best thing ever, so they couldn't really come out this year and say, oh, by the way, we've changed this, this and this. It is a good bike. It was then, it is now.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it as a race bike out of the crate?
Out of the crate, a race bike out of the crate, the 2015 YZ450 is amazing.
For something that puts out that amount of power, it's really not an intimidating bike, motocross bike, is it?
No, it's not. And, if you rode the thing around in second gear everywhere, you'd get yourself in some trouble at some stage. But it'll labour and it'll pull third and
you
fourth
can
gear.
short shift that thing and tonk around, and if you're not that confident, you can still safely get around a motocross track on the 450.
You can, for sure, and you'll definitely have more fun on the 450 if you are in some kind of shape. You've got a bit of strength and a bit of fitness and a bit of knowledge, riding knowledge and experience. It'll definitely be more enjoyable for you at that level.
Yeah.
But hey, anyone can get on the thing and have a skid around.
Would you say it does suit the rider who's serious about getting better at motocross?
Yeah, for sure.
Who trains, commits to really strengthening themselves to hang on to the thing and have a go.
For sure, it will make a big difference to those riders where that do train and they put a bit of effort in. And I guess it's all a 450 is almost like a 125. You have to ride it properly to do good on it. You have to respect the power. You have to have good throttle control, line selection, all those things put together to ride one well. So
now the performance of their fork, let's call it a conventional USD fork because it's got springs in it, once upon a time, upside down and conventional, that was the terminology.
Yeah.
Now what are you saying? An air fork and spring?
Yeah, this old saying, if it ain't broken, why fix it,
Yeah.
And while they upgrade the spring fork every year and they make internal changes and they keep getting it better and better, to be honest with you.
It really has evolved to the best example of that USD fork.
It has, and I'm amazed that you can roll out of the showroom and so many times you hear the question from riders, is that factory suspension or is that a factory bike or whatever, and no, it's straight out of the showroom floor, which is a pretty amazing thing that they worked that well, that people would think it's a factory model.
That any punter has access to that technology. Just go buy one.
Exactly.
Let's get out on the track, do some more laps, mate.
Let's do it while the track's are lonely. Let's get into it.